one of the things that the film hits really hard is it follows up with several people who were arrested either on the day or after the FBI came to their homes and came after them. We're going to take the next clip, and it's a little bit of a reenactment of what one woman recalls when they visited her house.
This is to get into people's psychology, like, whoa, I'm just not going to get involved. I'd better shut up. And you talk to a lot of these FBI agents and generals, and I've talked to even 4-star generals. They've never read the United States Constitution, and they don't know what it means. Yet they've sworn time and again to defend it and uphold it against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and now they're being told, there's the domestic enemy. Go after it.
Unattractive woman. See, that's what I get when I tell the folks in the booth that, the order of the clips doesn't matter. And then I try to predict what clip we're going to run. That is completely my fault. But what we have there, the speaker is exactly right. And it's chilling, Grant, because he says he's talked with 4-star generals. He's talked with people who have sworn and on whom we depend to defend the Constitution, who've never read it, who are not interested in defending it. And essentially they're carrying out a psychological strike on the American people. And when you look at something like January 6th, that is kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, I remember I was watching the film. I got to watch it, was fortunate enough to watch it in advance before I went to the premiere. And I was watching it with another member here at the Western Journal who happens to also be my fiance. And she said, I remember at that point, she verbally said, wow. Like when he said, they've never read the Constitution. They're being told to protect America from all the enemies, foreign and domestic, and then they're saying this is a domestic enemy. Yeah. And I think that is what's so scary, and that is what we have seen playing out. This connects to me in my mind, to these vaccine mandates, to the things that are weeding out conservatives from places like the FBI or like the Army or like wherever is requiring these vaccines. They're weeding out these people who do know the Constitution. Yeah. They're treating the Constitution as if it's evidence of domestic terrorism. They were taking pocket constitutions from people who are at the Capitol.
They confiscating
them. So you're treating it as if it's this terrible document, but then you're telling people that you should follow it to protect the country. And I think that there are bad actors who are doing it on purpose. I think there are other members of the federal government who are being told that these people are domestic terrorists and they don't know any better, so they go after them.
They don't. The education system has failed entirely. And when we talk about the deep state, we're not talking about some cabal of men who meet in a dark, smoke-filled room in D.C. and make all these decisions. That's not what the deep state is. The deep state is the administrative state. It's the people at top levels of the FBI who have been infected with wokeism, who have been infected with leftist ideology, who have been infected with the idea that America is not great. America never was great. America never was good, and that it is up to the government to shift the Constitution out of the way and adjust the country so that it reflects their personal values. That's unbelievably dangerous. Russ, let's run the next clip.
And did they say anything to you before they handcuffed you, or?
No, I asked them, why are you doing this? Where's the warrant? And they said, you need to step back. You need to step back and give me your wrists.
I have guys with flashbang burns on their rug. They flashbanged his house, his pregnant wife. She had a miscarriage shortly after.
Flashbang burns on the rug and a miscarriage shortly after. And when you look at these folks, if you looked at the woman who is at the very front end of that clip, and I apologize, I don't have her name in front of me.
You can Mrs. see Martinez. I can't remember her first name, but
you can see, that's really the face of a domestic terrorist, isn't it? And there are multiple stories. There are about a dozen different versions of that exact same thing happening to people when the FBI showed up afterwards. And remember, these are not people who took a gun to the Capitol. These are not people who, best we can tell, they're not people who hurt anyone. Some of the people who were interviewed for the film actually provided medical support. And you can ask Kyle Rittenhouse how well that turned out. I mean, these are not insane domestic terrorists, over the top people. In the Q&A, which you attended afterward with folks who were in the film, my favorite line from that Q&A was when one of the people on stage said, listen, it's the left that wants a civil war. If we go to guns, we lose. These are not domestic terrorists. And then you contrast that against what you see in BLM meetings, what you see in Communist Party USA meetings, what you see on campuses. And those people are unbelievably violent, disruptive, and dangerous. Those, if you're going to find domestic terrorists, that's where you're going to find them, not on stage here. Let's run the next one.
For a second, I didn't realize that there were about 20 FBI SWAT team members with semi-automatic rifles pointed at my son and I, because I was distracted by the bright red lasers pointed at our faces, chests, and various points on my 4-year-old son and I.
Right now, the weight, the entire weight of the government is coming down on trespassers that took selfies.
Trespassers that took selfies. That's a pretty good description. By the way, capitalpunishmentthemovie.com. Capitalpunishmentthemovie.com is where you want to go if you are interested in this film. It will open Thanksgiving Day. You can pre-purchase, though. You can pre-purchase your copy of it. You can get a digital copy for $10. You can get a digital copy and the DVD that you can show your family for $25. So capitalpunishmentthemovie.com. Grant, when I heard the description of all of the little laser dots showing up on the woman and on her kids, I mean, that sounds like something you would hear about in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you said, these people were at the Q&A at the premiere. I got to talk to these people, and exactly as you said, they're not scary. They're not terrorists. These are families.
Clearly not.
These are families. The Martinez family, who was the woman that we saw in that previous clip there, I got to talk to her and Tony, her husband. Their daughter was also there. She was the one who was put in handcuffs. And these are just normal people. And each of them also told me, if the FBI had called me, if they had, the government had knocked my door and said, like, hey, we need to investigate you for this, like, they all would have complied. Nobody would have tried to create some sort of big situation if just one person had come and say, hey, we need to investigate this, we need to talk to you. But instead they bring this incredible show of force and they start pointing laser sights at families and they start flashbanging houses. I mean, pregnant women. It is the level that they bring it to.
He was right. It's pure psychological warfare against anyone who has the guts to say, are we sure this is what the country should do? Yeah. Anyone who's got the guts to say, I'm not positive about that. Anyone who has the guts to stand up. Roll the next one.
And I froze, and I completely froze. And I leap up, and I just kind of stood there. And then they're like, we're gonna break the door down, we're gonna break the door down. I'm like, hang on. And we're turning around to open the door, and they broke the door down.
And so then what? They just sort of, this is when they started...
Hands up, put your hands on the wall, turn around. Really scary, really scary.
You were right there, and you turned around.
Basically right where Sarah is.
You back up against that wall, and they cuffed you right there.
Is that giving me a heart attack?
Can you imagine that happening to you?
I can't. I can't imagine sitting...
For showing up at a rally.
I'm sitting in my house.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was there that day, maybe I would have a little bit of an inkling because of the media coverage, but I probably wouldn't think like, oh, I committed some horrible atrocity, like I'm going to be targeted. I feel like I would be incredibly unsuspecting, and then all of a sudden the FBI shows up. From what I understand in talking to these people, none of them had any idea that the FBI was going to show up to their house. It's not like they were sitting there and they're like, well, I'm kind of nervous, but I know it's happening at some point. It was out of the blue. They had no clue this was happening. They were never contacted. And then all of a sudden it happens. I can't imagine what kind of psychological damage that would do on a person.